the first headstone you come to when you drive up the road to the Waldport Cemetery, or to the Aldergrove Cemetery in Waldport. Just walking up this sweet one-lane gravel / dirt road, and you can see that the cemetery is not very well maintained. I was looking for an entry sign, but there's not actually a sign. There is a gate that is completely irrelevant because there's no fence or anything, but there's the gate. It's open, and that's kind of where we are. Hi, we're here at the Aldergrove Cemetery in Waldport, Oregon. It's a town just a little south of Newport, which is the most commonly known town people reference in Lincoln County in the central Oregon coast. But it's a really beautiful, really sweet, quaint little town. It's quiet. It's not highly populated. There's no big box stores. So it's kind of fun to come down here and just enjoy, kind of a roll back in time. I am going to refer to notes because I don't know a whole lot about Waldport, even though I grew up around this area. It just hasn't been on my radar. So this cemetery was established in 1895, and the first known burial was a little girl, and then there was a woman, and then it kind of exploded from there. Actually, there was 3 people buried, and then there was a 40-year hiatus before people were buried in the 1930s, and then it got well established. And I don't know what that was about, but I find it kind of interesting. Waldport itself wasn't established until, it wasn't established until 1881, which is 14 years before, but then it didn't get incorporated until 1911. So they definitely had some transitions going through their city. And you have to consider the fact that if this cemetery was established in 1895, and the first wagon road, going around Cape Perpetua, which is just south of here, didn't come in until 1914, and there were no bridges until 1936. So the only way people were coming to this town is from the valley. And the valley today, on paved roads and straightened lines, takes about an hour plus to drive. So imagine how long it would take on a wagon road from the valley to the coast before there were roads. I think that takes some dedication to choose to live here in this community, very isolated and, without resources, for about 50 years before it really got, attached to other towns and other communities. What else do I want to talk about Waldport? That's all I'm going to talk about. Yeah, I think that's all we're going to talk about right now.
Okay.
The headstone of Mary C. Crocker. She was born in 1882 and died in 1895. She was the very first burial known in this cemetery. And her parents are in the lots next to her, Mary and William Cracker.
Go.
We're standing at the grave of Susan Jane Howell. She was born in 1856 and died in 1895. She died on the same year as the child that died, but she's the first adult woman that was buried here in the cemetery, and I always like to try to honor that woman because, let's face it, she was the pioneer of this community, right? The beginning of the beginning, and as far as settlers go. And so I just like to honor her and her bravery. Normally I bring some flowers for the first woman burial. Today I got distracted in the morning and I forgot my flowers at home. So next time, this cemetery is pretty close by, so I can always run up here and give her some flowers some other time. So we don't really know what this picket fence surround is for. Possibly a family lot that has no burials or possibly just no markers. Maybe it's designated for a scattering garden. We really don't know. It can't be that terribly old since it's all wood. And the paint's not too bad as far as, an old fence goes. And it's strong, it's pressure treated wood, so it just can't be that old in comparison to the whole cemetery. But there's no indication of exactly what it is and what the plan is for it.
Thinking it's possibly a scattering garden, maybe for cremains, but there's no signage anywhere that says what it's for.
Yeah, no signs, cute little gate.
If anybody knows, please let us know.
But there's fun little fences all over the cemetery, and we'll definitely be showing those to you as well. Here's a family lot surrounded with, what are those things called? Buoys?
Those right there.
Fishing float things?
Yeah. Fishing float things, yes.
Fishing float things. See, I obviously grew up on the coast and have no idea what anything's called. Anyways, it's a very coastal look on this family lot. It's a huge family plot. I don't know how many markers are in here or how many people can still be buried in here, but it's pretty impressive actually. There's another one up there with the hog wire, very garden-esque. We were here earlier in the year and there was definitely some more things blooming. So I think somebody comes here and gardens in there, which is kind of fun. I like that. And then this one is really sweet with these garden fence panels. I love that they use these. It's very reminiscent of the old style iron fences.
They're new too. There's no rust on them. Or
Really
anything.
cute.
Yeah, they're new.
And again, just a huge family plot. Makes me interested in how people come across these and buy them, and how much they are for this many, and they get a discount, or what's the deal? It's huge. So this is the gravestone of David Rubble. He is, well, he did a lot of the foundations of Waldport. He commissioned the first Christian church, but he's most, or what I most want to honor him for is that he platted the town of Waldport by the stars. He used constellations to choose how the town was going to be laid out, and where the roads were going to be, and where people were going to build their homes and their businesses, which I find really fascinating. That's not how every city planner chooses to plat the land. So I appreciate that he used the stars to do that. Always like to acknowledge the cultural history if I can in the area that I'm at. And so this land originally belonged to the, let me make sure I say it right. Well, I won't even know if I'm saying it right because I'm not very good with language. But I think it's Yakonan Indians and also the Alsea Indians lived in this area before the settlers came in. Another cultural point that I'd like to highlight at this particular cemetery is there is one black man buried here that we're aware of, and he was buried in 1951. He was adopted by a white settler who brought him here. There's no history on his mother, so he may have lived with his mother, but it wasn't until 1955, 4 years after he passed, that the state of Oregon recognized mixed race marriages and children. So I just wanted to kind of put that in perspective of what kind of history that, you know, we've all kind of whitewashed, and this area specifically is very white at this point in time. There's still some Native Americans around, and the diversity is getting bigger and better, but it's still very, very white here. So as you could tell, this is still an active cemetery, and as far as we know, there is only one person of color that lives here, or that resides in eternal peace here. And I couldn't find his marker today. It is on Find a Grave. It's a temporary marker. The picture was taken back in 2009. This cemetery is very overgrown, and it's not surprising that I couldn't find it today. But I did want to acknowledge his existence. His name was Robert Alvin McCleary. And yeah.